my friends, welcome back to a new video. I have a special message for everyone that came across this video. It comes with the number 333. In numerology, this is a symbol that your life is about to change. You're at the big turning point. So it's time for you to know this. It's time for you to know that you're actually slowly starting to receive the fruits of your efforts. The changes you're making on yourself, and for people around you are actually making the results behind the scene. So when we start changing our energy, we start projecting new energy outside into the universe. So usually when we start making those changes, we'll not see the results immediately, but we start meeting synchronicities. We start meeting what some people call weird coincidences. Serendipity starts happening, and we start to receive messages. And those who are aware enough to see them, to read them, will feel a reassurance that they're doing the right thing. They're walking the path of the soul. They're doing what they need to do. And I want to give you a few steps to continue on your journey, how to initiate the changes, how to change your energy so you can stay in that motion of positive changes. So often we may get distracted by the outside world and we fall into certain toxic patterns by the society. And then we start wondering why there's always a negative voice present in my mind. Why I don't believe into myself. Why I have a lack of trust. And the answer is simple. Because you are ignoring it. So how this answer can help you? When we actually stop ignoring that voice, you know what happens for most people? When we ignore the negative voice in our minds, we start running away from it. And we start reaching out towards certain short-term pleasures. So we experience that dopamine rush and a sense of happiness, a short sense of happiness, short sensation. So we would feel better. So we would escape to that unpleasant sensation, the negative voice in our minds. But when we actually pay attention to it, we become aware of its power. We actually recognize how powerless it is. That's why I always say to you, learn to accept yourself, all of yourself. It means the good stuff and the bad stuff. When you pay attention to the negative voice in your mind, you will notice that it's just a record of something or somebody from your past. Somebody told you some things about you or about them, and you've started believing that. So that voice is kinda most of the time controlling you. And that's why you're trying to escape it, because you don't want to be controlled by it. And that's why most people feel stuck and lost. And most people are in lack of trust into themselves because they're ignoring that voice. So once we stop ignoring it and we pay more attention to it, we recognize that it's actually powerless. It's coming from our past and it has no room for us in the present moment anymore. When we pay attention to ourselves in the present moment, we recognize that there is a space of peace present within us. And from that state of peace, we start observing ourselves, recognizing what's happening within our bodies. And we can find out where, there's some negative thoughts, some positive thoughts, something we want to do, something we don't want to do. We experience some emotions which are like the byproducts of this thought. So there's a whole happening, right? So many different sensations. But as we observe it, we actually recognize that we are behind it. We don't need to be controlled by it. If we are behind all that happening, it means that there's something we can do. And what can we do? We can declutter our minds. Yes, we can declutter our minds by paying attention firstly what is not serving us anymore. You know, as I mentioned, when you pay attention to a negative voice in your mind, it will lose its power because you recognize how powerless it is. How is it possible? Well, when we start questioning, is it true? We start digging deeper into it. And it's like there would be a box in front of us, and on that box there would be a sticker. There's a scary thing in that box, and you would be afraid of the box just because there's something written on it. And you would be afraid of the box until one day you would start questioning, is it real? Is it really scary? Is it really something scary in it? And more you would be questioning that box, more curious you would become. What's truly inside of that box? Until one day you would open the box and you would recognize that it's empty. And that's what are the stories that are playing in our minds. Those are like empty boxes trying to scare you, trying to protect you. They're coming from maybe from our parents, from our grandparents, maybe from our ancestors, you know, and they're still present within you. Their purpose is not to scare you. Actually, they have no purpose. They're just a memory. And you have a purpose to actually let go of what is not serving you. So once you recognize the thoughts that are not serving you, that are not helping you to grow, you don't need to trust them. You don't need to believe into them anymore. And that's how we start letting go of them. So you see, it's not about ignoring them. We observe them, we question them, and that's where we find the truth about them. And that's where we can actually let go of them. When people try to ignore something, it seems like it just becomes louder. That's why we can't ignore a trauma. That's why we can't ignore a certain fearful memory. That's why we can't ignore like shame or guilt or fear or anger or anything which feels unpleasant. We can't ignore those things, and we shouldn't. We should actually pay attention to them so we can find the truth in it. And we overcome them. For example, when you feel ashamed for something, well, shame is just an emotion of which purpose is to help you to improve your behaviors. You know, if you would talk with a person without a shame, it's quite weird to be or to hang or to spend time with that kind of a person, right? And you've probably experienced that. So you see, even shame has an important purpose for you. Every emotion is your greatest teacher. And once we start looking on our body that way, we recognize that, well, we are a work in progress. And at the same time, we are a work in process. We are in the process of greater self-awareness so we can discover more of ourselves. Once we discover more of ourselves, we recognize, well, that system is actually truly incredible. Emotions are protecting us. Emotions are helping us to become better. Emotions are helping us to become more conscious. And mind can help us to create beautiful things. When people are not aware of that, they become victims of that system. And then people start blaming the external system, which is just a manifestation from that internal system which went out of control. So to experience beautiful changes in your life, my friends, you need to learn to listen to your body, to observe your body, to declutter your body from the things that are not serving you anymore. And you can only do that by paying attention to those internal sensations, to what's actually happening within you, what your body is telling to you. Emotions, yes, they're all beautiful. What they are telling to you. Is there, something you need to pay more attention to? Like, for example, when I started making those videos, I was afraid of the camera, like talking in front of the camera. And I could say, well, it's just not for me. I could say my intuition is telling to me that it's not for me. And that's where we get confused, right? How can we find a difference between that intuitive knowingness and fear, or sometimes people say ego? Well, intuition will always say to you to overcome what is blocking you, while fear will always say to you to stay in the comfort zone so you can be safe. And for certain scenarios, it's okay, right? We know that. But most of the time, we are afraid of the things which can actually help us to become our greatest selves. And if we are following those fears, we may stay in the box and we'll never know what's outside of it. That's why most people are not working on their greatest talents, greatest gifts, because they surrender themselves to the fears that are controlling their perception. And all emotions are here to learn from them and to overcome what is not serving us. So learn to release the emotional tension that is not helping you to grow. Learn to observe it so well that you will recognize it when it starts controlling you. That's what will help you to follow the beautiful changes. So much is changing, and the purpose of this video is just to help you to keep up with the positive changes. We all find ourselves sometimes in the moments where we don't know what could we do as the next step in our lives. We don't know whom to trust. We don't know what to follow. We don't know what could be the best next step. And that's where we actually need to slow down a little bit, pause ourselves, and go within and see what if we just need to chill a little bit. If we just need a good quality of sleep to relax ourselves, recharge our batteries, and the answers will come, because that's how the universe works. If your batteries are not full, most probably the events in your life will align the way that you will be able to recharge your batteries before you do something major. So everything is always working for us, but if we don't see things that way, we may start to see ourselves as victims of everything. That's where we need to truly shift our perception and see everything as a part of our evolution. So, my friends, I also want to remind you here to learn to fall in love with the vision for the future that you have. Because most of us may often find ourselves repeating our past and finding the reasons there and meanings why we can't grow, why we can't change. I'm like that for 20 years and that's why I can't change. I've tried so many different methods and nothing worked. That's why I can't change. But if we go deeper and we question our consistency, we recognize that a certain pleasure was more important than the version we would become if we would stay consistent. And that's something that can truly trigger a lot of tension within us, because we recognize, well, am I a victim? Am I a victim of my pleasures? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's all okay. It's beautiful to eat something good, to feel better sometimes, to celebrate something, to do something beautiful, it's all okay with that. But when it comes to our transformation and priorities and who we want to become and what kind of life we want to live, we need to follow certain patterns, right? We need to stay consistent to our truth. We need to follow what's important to us, like our dreams, for example. So fall in love with the vision for the future that you have, so we can let go of the past limitations. That's something that will help you to keep up with the positive changes. It's not always easy, but on a long term, it's always rewarding and beautiful. And that's what it will actually help you to keep the momentum going of positive changes. Because there's a law of life, which is saying that change is the only constant. Everything is changing. But once we attach ourselves to a certain memory, to a certain limited belief, certain emotional attachment to certain material things, we start blocking changes that need to take place. And once we start blocking the changes that should happen in our lives, we'll start experiencing events which will remind us that we need to let go of that. Sometimes those are truly hard moments where we recognize, sometimes we get robbed. But later we recognize that we were so attached to that thing that somebody needed to steal it from us, so we would learn to release or let go of the attachments. And then one day in the future we learn that once we learn to let go of it, we became actually free. So that's how life is teaching us to cultivate an attitude of freedom, being free, being in that inner peace, the state of liberation. And it is something we are learning to nurture more often. So, my friends, fall in love with the vision of the future that you have. And always ask yourself, how can I get closer to it today? What can I do today to get one step closer to it? And you will notice that maybe there will be sometimes we say a download of a thought, of an inspiration, of an insight or a moment of clarity. Well, let's initiate that project. Let's start working on that mission. Let's start that website or finish that painting. Post it on your website, on your shop, whatever you're working on, and see what else can you do to get closer to there. We never know actually where this path can bring us because it's unknown, but we have a vision. That vision may change, but as long as you're following to something that you're actually designing in your mind every single day, you are actually making your mind stronger. And also you're building that discipline to believe into yourself. You're building that muscle of trust that you know that things will work out. And that's what can help us to keep up with the positive changes that are happening in our lives. Another reminder that I want to give you right now is to start developing your talents, my friends. You're all so talented, so gifted. Maybe you don't even know it yet, how many incredible talents you have. Because sometimes people say, well, I'm not a talented artist. And you don't need to be. Who say that you need to be an artist? Maybe you're good with kids. Maybe you're good with storytelling. Maybe you're good with reading books and it's a talent. Maybe you're a really, really fast reader. Of course, we can learn that. but maybe it's your natural gift, and you could, be like filming videos about books, for example. Or, there's like, when we start researching ourselves, we find out that there's always something that makes us unique. And that's what we need to find out so we can start developing it. So we can start nurturing that part of us which is making us unique. Because that's where we recognize that this is who we truly are. Society and the system, whatever, try to make us something, like a product that would fit into a certain aspect of that system. But at some point we recognize that there's a purpose, that each of us is unique here. So we bring more of that authentic energy into this system and disturb it a little bit to bring some more colors to it, some more contrast to it, some more beauty and variety and so on. Right? So in order to start developing your talents, you firstly need to recognize what makes you unique. Once you will recognize it, start working on it. Start developing it. You will see there's a power which supports us on that process. It's hard to explain it. Some people will say it's universe. Some people will say it's God. Some people would say it's a divine force. But it doesn't matter. Those are words we use. But what truly matters is that there is actually something that helps us to evolve, to develop what makes us unique. And we can all find that out once we start working on that gifts and talents, because it feels like something is just navigating us into the right direction, and at some point we start doing something that we never thought that we will be doing. And I'm sure you've heard many stories about it. Like, I've never thought that I will be doing what I'm doing right now. I've never thought that I will be an artist, that I will make paintings, that I will make those videos, even though I was never good in English. And I've never thought I will be doing that. So life works mysteriously, and that's what makes it wonderful. So, my friends, always take care of your mind. Make sure that your emotions are your greatest teachers. Never let to be controlled by them, but always learn from them. Learn to observe your body. Fall in love with the vision for your future, so you will not be limited by your past. And start developing your talents. Start developing that side of you, that aspect of you that makes you unique. Because one day it will become bigger, until one day you will find wholeness in that unique aspect of you, until it will expand so widely that you will embody all of yourself, and suddenly you will experience what we say the authentic self. So once we recognize what makes us unique, it's the most incredible beginning of the most incredible journey. So my friends, I'm sending you all lots of love. Have a beautiful day. I'm sending you blessings and power, and I hope you've enjoyed in today's painting. To everyone who would love to support my art, you can find it on my Etsy shop, I Draw My Passion. And to all who need some daily reminders, go and check out my Instagram page, AttractPassion, where you can find daily messages, daily reminders. And my other Instagram page, I Draw My Passion, where you can find my art gallery and check it out. My friends, till next time, have a magnificent day. One love. Hey my friends, I have some great news for you. Because we received so many questions, where could you contact me to start working with me one-on-one, we finally designed a page where you can schedule a calling and we'll meet you there. We've also designed a code 20 off to receive 20 off for the first meeting, and the code is passion20. If you will schedule a calling, write in passion20 and you will receive 20 off for our first meeting. I'm looking forward to initiate the path together with you, and feel free to go and check it out. My friends, till next time, one love.